Hello, my name is Marc from jazzguitarlessons.net, and in today's lesson we'll be exploring several ways to add chromaticism to your improvised lines. In my teaching, this kind of questions, they often come up, like people ask, all my lines sound inside, what can I do about it? Or even, which notes should I play to sound outside on purpose when I'm soloing? So here are three ways you can add a refreshing breeze of chromaticism into your own playing. First, learn the chromatic scale. I mean, this is a no-brainer, right? We want more chromatics on our instruments, so we learn the chromatic scale. But quite frankly, this can get pretty boring pretty quickly. I've included the chromatic scale in the PDF attached to this lesson. So it's like learning the alphabet, right? We know the chromatic scale contains all the 12 notes we have at our disposal. So let's not spend too much time on this right now. Just learn it ascending and descending. In the PDF, you'll find the 4-note per string version and the 6-note per string version. Another interesting way you can add chromaticism to your lines is by practicing bebop scales. And they are a neat way to add chromatics because you add notes to the scales you already know and use. And their fingerings on the guitar are awesome. So this will be the topic of the next video lesson, so stay tuned, right? And lastly, the third way you can practice chromatics is to use exercises, precise chromatic exercises. They're based on the chromatic scale, but they're not just running it up and down. For instance, we can use some digital patterns, or we can even use some improv workout based off the chromatic scale. So we'll have a blast now because this is the focus of today's video lesson. I'll show you 3 precise chromatic exercises so you can start practicing right now. Chromatic exercise number 1 is the 4-note groupings. If you've just been starting out with the chromatic scale, the complete scale, this is a great way to ingrain it deeper in your ears and in your fingers. Simply take the chromatic scale you already know and apply a pattern to it, such as 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3, 4, 5, 6, etc. And it's exactly what we'll be doing now. You'll find one way to finger this in the PDF, but there are plenty of other fingerings you can use that are appropriate. So let's try the ascending version together at 60 BPM right now. 3 and 4 and... etc., etc. Of course, you should apply the same idea while descending the chromatic scale as you can find in the PDF. Chromatic exercise number 2 is the constrained improvisation chromatic scale exercise. So this is where we'll actually improvise purely chromatically. You'll have to use your creativity to come up with ideas and to avoid repeating yourself over and over, right? So here's the exercise. We pick one interval to solo with. And it means that we're allowed to play all the notes that are chromatic within the interval, inside of the interval, right? Let's do an example together. I'm choosing F here on the 4th string, 3rd fret, and I'm choosing the interval of a perfect 4th. So I'm allowed to play all the notes in between F and B flat. F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A, and B flat or A sharp. That's my solo. That's all I'm allowed to do for my solo. And here I'm also constraining myself to 1 string, just for fun because I like it. So let's try this together and feel free to improvise with me. It will create a nice kind of chromatic counterpoint. Ready? This is fun, right? But make sure you really hear everything that you are playing. And of course, note that you can modify the exercise by imposing different constraints on it. So you pick a different range. Ours was just a perfect 4th, or you impose a position on the fretboard, or you can add interesting rhythms to it, etc. Our last example is a chromatic exercise. The 3rd one here is the root to root exercise, which is somewhat of a mechanical one to finish with, but you'll see that the root to root is also good for your ears because we go through the 12 notes of the chromatic scale, but we put them in a tonal context, in a tonal center. you'll see that constantly repeating the root makes it ring within your ears. So in our case, the root is C here. And let's practice the ascending version together at 60 BPM. You can find it in the PDF. It's in quarter notes. 3 and 4 and 2, 3. Etc. Of course, you have to try the descending version on your own, as you can find it in the PDF, and you should be able to play this in 8th notes, in 16th notes, or in triplets from any other starting root than C. There are several ways to finger this. There are several good fingerings, so find what works for you and then stick to it. So that's it for the chromatic exercises I wanted to show you. Let me wrap up by talking about 2 further considerations. First, time. You can really get away with murder while soloing. You can play anything that you want so long as the lines are in solid timing, right? You can hear this from a lot of great jazz artists. So it's worth thinking about timing and rhythms in the first place, since all the notes we're playing are free. I mean, we're playing outside, right? And as a side note to this, problems in my personal students I encounter on jazzguitarlessons.net are related. 80% of the time, the problems are related to rhythms and timing. It don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing, right? And secondly, I wanted to talk about applying this stuff, applications. Just get the training and don't force to use this exercise in your solos. You don't need to. Your aim is to get and hear more ideas while you are improvising. So let the ideas play you and not the other way around, right? So my advice is just practice the chromatic exercises without expecting anything in return. And then someday, some chromatic idea will pop up in your ears while you are soloing. That's how our ears work, really. Great, so I'll let you go. My name is Marc from jazzguitarlessons.net. Improve your jazz guitar playing with a real teacher, and I'll see you next time for Bebop scales. Take care.